What a banger of a game. Kingdom Come Deliverance was by far one of the best games I've played. It brought me back to the days when developers poured their love and passion into their games for the sake of the player. We seem to be seeing more titles take this approach, such as Helldivers, Space Marine, and Wukong. They are seeing massive success and gamers are welcoming them with open arms. And wallets, let's be real. But these are also some of the games that haven't given in to the political agendas some would call woke, and just focused on making a fun and enjoyable game. Now, for whatever reason, this year has already started full of controversy with the releases that are coming out, such as Assassin's Creed Shadows, The Witcher 4, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Why, you ask? Because some of these titles have shown some elements that seem consistent with the woke agenda. Now, that being said, I don't believe all these titles are woke, and I'll explain each game separately in other videos, as I want to keep them short. But just to clarify, I hate the woke DEI crap as much as the next guy, but alas, we must not become what we swore to destroy.
Oh, I hate you.
Jokes aside, we'll get started with KCD 2, as personally, it's one of the games I'd been wishing to exist for a long time, and once it was announced, I admittedly had my own fanboy moment. Now, is KCD 2 woke? Well, it's not full-blown Dragon Age woke, but it has aspects that seem to be pandering to trends by changing the established canon, and that is enough of a reason to piss off a good portion of the community based on what the first game was. As I'm sure everyone knows by now, there is an option for Henry to be gay, which is a big change, and the reason it is a big change is the simple fact that Henry wasn't gay by any means at all in the first game. Warhorse confirmed it themselves here on their own videos 8 years ago.
But it's a choice-based game.
Yes, but not as much as people seem to remember it is. You can't compare KCD to titles like Mass Effect, The Witcher, or Fallout, because the characters in those games, their personality and characteristics, were a bit more open to your input. The main choices in KCD for Henry was mostly to ask questions and get more information, to refuse quest lines that maybe you weren't really interested in, but Henry's personality and characteristics weren't as flexible and they were more rigid. Henry was Henry, and a lot of the community actually really enjoyed that. That being said, the director's statement that there were gay characters in KCD is true. There is a gay monk in the first game, and it was actually quite accurate to the times historically. The problem here is, as much as you are nice to the monk, Henry is nothing but neutral and platonic. He shows no interest. If he was potentially bisexual, a romance option here would have avoided the inconsistency of the second game, but he is simply not gay. Adding the option for Henry to be gay in KCD 2 just feels inconsistent and like a cheap retcon just to pander to a specific audience without narrative groundwork from the first game. Now, why is this a problem? Because players get emotionally invested in their games and the characters, which is exactly what is meant to happen, otherwise the game won't sell. Making changes to these characters or to the theme of the game after they've already been established is like a company changing an ingredient to your favorite drink that you thought was perfect, and suddenly it doesn't quite taste the same, and that can be frustrating. What makes it worse is when the company tries to hide it and lie about it, which is surprising considering how open and communicative they were in the first game, even expressing their dedication to the original narrative. But what does Warhorse decide to do when their player base holds them accountable to what they were committed to previously? They attack their audience. This erodes the trust the community has in the developer massively, which makes it understandable why players would choose to avoid opening their wallets to this studio, as this enables their current behavior. Yes, the numbers may still look good to the developer on the store page, but what they aren't seeing is the amount they could have made had they gone about these things in the right way. There is no problem with diverse characters where it makes sense, there's just a problem with changing an established character to fit in or tick a box for some stupid agenda. To cover some of the silly arguments some people have made, like everyone is gay because we all have the option to be, or Henry had his sexuality explored with men like Hans and the Father. 1. By your logic, we're all horse fuckers because we have the option to fuck a horse. And 2. No, these interactions were camaraderie and platonic friendship bonding. Any interpretation of these as gay is just a self-projection. Use those brain cells to think before you say things, people, please. So how would a gay character have fit in the game better? Making it either a new likable and well-written character, or one of Henry's old friends that was likable that he didn't have that much of an interaction with. Make a storyline where Henry discovers that his friend is gay, and then have an ethical dilemma on whether to expose him to the church or to defend him. Both choices should have consequences. This way, it leaves open the chance to see how they were treated back in these times by the church, which is an opportunity to create a real emotional impact with empathy for those who choose to take the quest. Make it heartbreaking. This is definitely possible as it's been done in Cyberpunk 2077 with our favorite bartender Claire, who is a trans character that gives you a series of racing quests. This was simply brilliant writing in the way they went about it. And now to tackle another point of controversy, the black man that's a traveler who lectures you on his homeland. Yes, this seems like another inclusion push. Yes, the director has contradicted himself. But yes, this can work with decent narrative writing. But the reason these things are problems is because a majority of the gaming community is at a heightened state of defensiveness because of how poor DEI has ruined games and are now tired of all the DEI agenda push. And game companies making statements and being committed to an original narrative only to switch it all up later on and hide these changes. It's valid that some of the fans feel betrayed because if the developers can't be consistent and will flip-flop on this, what else will they decide to change later? Things like this undermine the integrity in the eyes of the community, and now that the director at Warhorse is just seemingly dismissing everyone's concerns, doesn't help much either. And at that point, it's not about the game. It's about the fact gamers don't want to financially reward companies that do these things, because if you do, they slowly start to push more and more until it's Dragon Age of the Veilguard.
It makes me transgender. There's no option not to be transgender. It says makes me trans. This one does, and this one. I don't know why I have to be trans, guys.
The world is tired of the woke agenda, and that's why these games, as soon as they hint at something that has traits of wokeness, it gets blasted with controversy, like the Wall of Deutsch's house.
What are you waiting for, soldier? Fire the trebuchet for king and country!
So, in my personal opinion, I don't really care. As long as this character is written well and is likable. If he's not likable, please let us either kill him or in the least beat him up just like Kanesh. I can still play Henry to his lore-accurate counterpart from the first game. The option is just there for the 7% of the global population, and it's not forced upon me. I really enjoyed KCD 1, and the gameplay I have seen of KCD 2 looks absolutely incredible, and has me so excited to try out the combat. Warhorse has done an incredible job on making this game polished, beautiful, and clean. In terms of pre-ordering, I wouldn't recommend that to anyone unless there's a really good reason that applies to you. I have pre-ordered it because, well, extra quest and pretty armor. Am I a fool? We'll soon find out. But to clarify on the director David himself, I believe, despite the misunderstanding between him and the community, he's genuinely a decent bloke who is still pretty based. He is one of the very few people I've ever seen take accountability publicly as shown here. After the backlash, he came clean and communicated to his audience what was going on. Better late than never, I believe. So I hope my video has shed some light into how some of the community may be feeling. Let me know in the comments some feedback about what I did and didn't do well, and if the points I made in this video helped to understand one side of the community. After all, peace is found in understanding. With that being said, adios.